Good morning. Welcome to the VFR build. We got another piece of the puzzle this morning. The mail person delivered this stuff, which is our fuel cap. So, yeah, see how it comes with this little key? So it comes with the key to it all. Actually, I mean, it's a spare key to something else. But, let's look at it real quick. I like opening stuff. There it is. Fuel cap, man. Let's see how it compares. Yeah, this looks exactly the same to me. So, yeah, that looks exactly the same to me. I know this looks exactly the same on the inside. So, I have some high hopes for this. We will see if I am wrong or not. Yeah, I have high hopes, man. I'm curious why this is a different part number, though. Maybe I shouldn't be. That might be bad luck. Let's not say that. I take it back. All right, I'm gonna put it aside, though, for now. It also came with a switch, with the ignition switch. Anyways, this is off another Honda, but it's like an NT700, which I think is like one of those like side-by-sides or something. Now we are back to the important stuff. Wiring, electronics, making that bike crank. That is our goal. Well, first our goal is the horn. So my first step is to get out my little tester. This is just a basic tester, which I highly recommend. I mean, this is a fancy version of one because that's all they had at like the local hardware store. But like, you can get really basic ones, which all you need is, it's basically just a wire with a little light bulb in it. And that's all you need, man. You touch the one end to like a ground, which could be anywhere in the frame, basically, of the bike. And then you touch this to a wire in question, and if it lights up, if this little device lights up, then you know you've got power to that wire. It's as simple as that. It helps me trace things on the bike and tells me, like, I can look at this, like I can use this and look at the wiring diagram, and I can tell if I should have power to a wire, and then if I don't, I know I've got a problem. And I need to start tracking that down, which is what we're gonna do today. So, let's start by turning this bike on. Bam. Now we've got power, and I'm gonna start, I think, back here at the very basics, which is just, we got power at the battery, it comes out of the battery, it goes to our main switch here. Let's start there. So, using my tester, I'll show you what I mean here. So, I can put this to ground anywhere on the bike, get a good piece of metal there, and then we put this to the positive on the battery, and it lights up. Hopefully you can see that, but yeah, it lights up. This one actually tells you which voltage you're getting, where it will go up to like 400 volts, which is crazy. There's our battery. Here's our main switch down here. That's also got juice. Let's see if we got juice. We got juice to the clock. We know the clock, all that is lighting up. And so there is, that tells us certain things. Like this guy, I believe, takes power to the clock. And that's why the clock is on all the freaking time. Let's see, we can test this guy. Yeah, got power there. On that side of the wire, I got power. Now we've got fuses on here. The horn is part of this circuit for like the stop lights and the turn signals and everything. That's all on one circuit. Oh, it's all in the same circuit. I want to test that circuit to make sure power is going out to that thing. The fan, the lights, the headlights, and then the horn should be this dude there. Of course, this is... We need to cover this guy up so we don't sparky. We don't want to sparky on things. Alright, this is going to be a little bit of a pain because it's hard to reach these wires. Alright, so it looks like there is indeed power on one side. Let's make sure we got power coming out of there. Yeah, we're getting power on the other side. Alright, so we are getting power all the way through that. So the fuse is working. Now, we need to trace this wire, man. All right, so I'm gonna jump all the way up here to the front where we should have another sort of plug-in connection point up here, and we'll test that wire to see if it has juice from, you know, if the power is making it all the way from the battery, from that fuse up here. If it's not, then we know somewhere along the line we've got a break in the wire. You can also do this with like a voltmeter or whatever, where you can test conductivity to see if you've got a break or a short in the wire that way. So I'm looking at the handlebars here, and I am tracing this wire here because our horn is right here, our horn button. And so I trace the wires down from there, follow them around. And so now that we're over here, let's get down. Get down, get down. So now I'm looking at wires over here. I know I'm looking for a black and brown wire. These are all very dusty at the moment. So I've located the black and brown wire. This is the part of the loom. I've disconnected the connector here as well. And this is the part of the wire loom that comes from the battery. So hopefully we'll have power to this guy here. So let's see. All right, so you can see it lighting up there. Yeah, you can see the light going there. So we've got juice to that wire. So we should have the horn. I think it's at the button. This would indicate to me that the problem is at the button. A bad horn button. Possibly all the buttons up there are bad. Let's look at the button, man. That's the next logical step. It's completely logical that the button would be the problem, because if you look at these things, like this is our high beam button, I cannot even move that. It's cracked. How cracked that is, but it's got a nice little crack in it, and it does not function at all. Here's our horn button. It does move, but I don't really feel any clicking or anything like that on the inside happening. And our turn signals are very hard to move, but they do move. So this has seen some weather. This has been out in the weather for a while. Our electrical contacts in here might be completely shot. And I was not planning on reusing this stuff anyways because of the condition it's in. It's not really an option. I mean, I always like to reuse stuff when possible, and at least for testing, you know, to make sure stuff's working, which is the phase we are in right now, is to try and make sure stuff works. And then if we want to upgrade, that's a whole nother thing we can do later, right? That's kind of how I look at it. And I like to upgrade, so to speak, for various reasons. Like on this, sometimes it's just for, you know, aesthetics. Like I like it, I want it to look a certain way. You know, like a lot of times I want it to look cleaner. I want it to clean up the handlebars and make things look more slim and trim, that sort of thing. So there's just a couple screws that hold these hand controls on here. I'm taking both of those screws all the way out on this. And then it's like a clamshell situation, and it should break into two pieces, basically, and come apart. This is the longest screw ever. Look at that. All right, I'm gonna have to take the clutch lever here off as well, so I can get this thing out of there. I don't have room. So that too has just a couple bolts on it that hold that guy on there. I want to keep track of my bolts at this point, because it is very easy to get carried away. I'm on a different task, you know, and I'm gonna move past these bolts real quick. So I'm gonna put this back together. Put the bolts right back where I took them out. And then when I need them later on, they'll be right where I need them to be. Now we get a glimpse inside. But here is our switch for the high beams, and like that's like just frozen up in there. And then down here is where our horn is, down here somewhere. It's underneath our turn signal switch. So we play with that guy. You can kind of see how that works here. So I'm gonna have to take that apart to get to this switch down there. So yeah, let's just start taking things apart, man, and seeing how this all goes together. We are just fucking this thing up. So now we can see our horn switch though. This is the cool part. So you can see down in the bottom there, we've got what looks to be a little connector part. Like some, you know, it looks like it could conduct electricity. It's metal. And then we've got, there's our horn, our button. We actually push the button. Like it looks like it's just not long enough to make contact is what's happening. There's this little screw over here. I'm curious if I loosen that, if I can actually adjust this horn button. Let's turn the bike on and see if that actually did something. It didn't do anything. Let's start looking for power again. Start digging around inside our switch. Let's see if there's where the power lies, man. Now let's go back to the simple one. And we probably should test the horn itself to make sure the horn would actually work if it had power. Oh yeah, we've got some power to the horn. All right, so there's power to the horn, but let's check the horn. Let's take that off and make sure it actually works. All right, so I'm gonna unbolt the horn. And unplug this guy as well. And then we can actually go and test the horn. Test the horn and see if it works. So I am just gonna simply, I've got some random wires here with some alligator clips I put on the end. I'm just gonna hook them straight to the battery. And then we can hook those to the horn and see if it beeps. Get my little horn out. Take my positive wire, connect that to one of these connections. And my negative wire, where I'm just gonna touch it. All right, that's horn, man. Horn does do something. So I got the horn plugged back in and it works. And that is a loud horn, dude. Now it just works. Maybe it was just a little bit corroded, the connections to the horn or something, where the act of taking them on and off scrubbed off enough debris to make those actually have contact and work again. Somehow in the melee that was our horn diagnostics, our little light has now come back on and it stays on now. Our starter switch, let's see if we can make something happen there. Because that's really the meat of it. Our kickstand switch is messed up and that could be a problem here. I can highly recommend the horn off of VFR. These things are loud as fuck, man. I just accidentally hit that button again. I'm pretty sure my girlfriend will be coming out here any minute. So this is our kickstand switch right here, and it has this weird sort of a rheostat sort of variable thing going on here in terms of how this works. You can see on the actual kickstand itself how this would hook up there and then it would slide, and that's what would tell the bike whether it was on or off. So whether the kickstand was up or down. So I'm gonna try and bypass this thing because this is clearly damaged, and either I'm gonna bypass, like delete this thing, or I'll have to get another one at some point. But it connects up here. It's a simple 2-wire thing, so it's gonna be either on or off. It's an on-off switch. So I should be able to easily bypass that thing with some either jumper wire or no jumper wire. It's either looking for an on signal or an off signal. Get some jumper wire. I should have one somewhere. So yeah, just a little piece of wire that I can jump that signal from one side to the other, basically close that loop. But first, with it unconnected, let's see if I get any response from the bike. So nothing there. Now let's jump it, which basically means I need to somehow jam these wires in here. Unfortunately, this connector is not very accessible. Yeah, it's like straight up into that. It's just barely peeking out of the wire loom. Really, so I'm just gonna do my best here to make contact with these two guys. All right, so at the front of the bike, I can hear a clicking. Something is like a relay of some kind is making a noise. Every time I try the starter switch, I'm trying to figure out which guy it is that's making that noise. It's this guy. Now, who are you? Because clearly we're getting juice to that relay. All right, so I figured stuff out by looking at the wiring diagram and looking at the colors of wires and then referencing those colors to what is feeding into these relays. I figured out that this relay over here, this is our high beams relay, and this one here that is clicking, that is our low beam relay. So the bike is getting power where the low beam, the headlight would typically turn on when you turn the bike on. That would make sense that this relay is clicking for that. So I need to locate the starter relay. This is definitely our turn signal relay. This is definitely our engine stop relay or bank angle relay, whatever you want to call it, bank angle sensor. So I'm going ahead and labeling stuff. So as I find and identify them according to the wire colors, this is our fuel stop relay there. Our engine stop relay is right here, which is kind of what I thought was up front there. So this, I kind of wanted to zoom in on this guy and see what's going on there in terms of testing that. I've got another relay over here somewhere. I can hear it clicking. Where's that click coming from? I don't understand. Anyways, I don't know where that's coming from. That's perplexing. Maybe we'll discover what that is later on. All right. So we're getting power into it. All right, so with the kill switch on, I'm getting power from the ECU to this guy. I'm getting power from the ignition key to this guy. And then I'm also getting power from one of the fuses. The fuse circuit here runs to this guy. And then the red wire, I'm not getting power out, or I think from that. So I've just been looking at the wiring diagram like until my eyes bleed. And it looks like our starter switch here is like a 2-stage switch. Like there's 4 wires going just to this thing. 2 coming in, 2 going out. I did fix my low light on the dash here so it turns off. The kill switch was turned off and then the light turns on up there. You turn the kill switch on and the light turns off. I must have like knocked that at some point. All right, so our little stops relay here, I think this thing, I'm gonna test this. Pull this off. We'll test this guy. All right, so I'm just testing this relay. The simple way to do it is by hooking up a little battery. I've got a 9-volt battery here and connecting across these 2 pins that are labeled as the coil. And that clicks, which means it's working. I'm circling back around to this bank angle sensor because there's power that goes into this and not power that comes out. And then the power coming out of there should run directly to that starter relay. And we're not getting power back there. So I am gonna try and jump this by unplugging it and then jumping the wires right here and seeing if we can get power back to that starter relay. So a little jumper wire in hand, I'm going to see if we can jump across this thing and see what happens. Now do I get power back here to our starter relay? That is a question. Yes, I do. It should click too. All right, so this is working. Like if I hold onto it, like I can feel it clicking when I turn the kill switch on and off. So that is working the way it's supposed to, in theory. Should be. I can actually test at the main fuse here, the main starter relay. I can test and I can actually get power to that when I press the starter button on the handlebars. I actually do get a little bit of juice there. I'm just not getting it. Yeah, because we're just not getting power through to the starter, man. Yeah, it's almost like, I feel like I've tracked it, narrowed it down to like the starter relay switch is possibly not working, or I'm just not getting enough juice to it. So I'm not sure if I'm getting full contact on this switch. I don't know. That's possible. I mean, again, the switch could be corroded. So maybe we need to take that apart. So yeah, I'm thinking about taking the switch apart next, and then also testing the starter relay and making sure those things are working. But I'm gonna have to do that next week.